بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيد الخلق رحمة للعالمين، سيدنا ونبينا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين، وأنا معهم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Respected students, I welcome you all to this brand new course of ours presented by the Arabic School, in which insha'Allah ta'ala we will be starting our journey studying al-Muqaddimatul al-Ajurrumiyyah, studying this very beneficial, blessed classical text, which is taught all over the Muslim world. It is taught all over the Muslim world, and now, alhamdulillah, with the presence of Muslims, even in non-Muslim countries, this text is taught everywhere across the globe, and that shows that this is a text which has gained acceptance of the scholarly class, the ulama, and it is a blessed text with which students usually begin their journey of studying Nahu or Arabic syntax. Now, al-Muqaddimatul al-Ajurrumiyyah, very briefly, is a level one uh, concise treatise which covers the rules, the essentials, the fundamentals of Arabic syntax, Nahu. Now, and Arabic syntax or Nahu studies the anatomy of Arabic sentences. It studies the composition of Arabic sentences. How do we form sentences using words? What are the rules that we need to keep in mind to form these sentences? And what are the rules that we need to keep in mind to understand the formation of these sentences? So learning Nahu helps you build reading skills, because then whenever you have an Arabic text in front of you, you can break it down. You can break down the sentence, and you can understand the individual parts of the sentence and the sentence as a whole. And it also helps you in your speaking and writing, because you learn the rules of sentence formation. So it helps you better your speaking and your writing ability. Of course, there is a necessary, there's an additional step that you do need to take with studying Nahu, and that is studying Arabic vocabulary by reading different texts or going through an Arabic course book like Arabiyyah Bayna Yadayk, or the Medina book series, or Al-Arabiyyah lil-Nashi'in, or reading books like Qisas al-Nabiyyin, Suwar min Hayat al-Sahaba, etc. So that is an extra step for beginners that they do need to take. But for someone who knows Arabic, they just need to learn Nahu, and someone who doesn't know Arabic, then they need to study Nahu, and with Nahu they also need to gain Arabic vocabulary. Now, so al-Ajurrumiyyah is a concise treatise which covers these rules of Arabic syntax or sentence composition, which is referred to as Nahu in the Arabic language. It was written by Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Muhammad al-Sanhaji, known as Ibn Ajurrum, and he was a Berber by ethnically. He was a Berber, and he wrote this text. And after he wrote it, the text became very famous, and it has been taught since. And it has many hundreds of explanations and glosses written over it. There are many shuruhat and hawashi of al-Muqaddimah al-Ajurrumiyyah. Now, so that is what you need to know regarding the text. This is the text which we will be studying, and we will be studying it with the help of a very important explanation of the text, which is the explanation of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan, Sheikh Ahmed Zayni Dahlan. It is a very beautifully written brief explanation of al-Ajurrumiyyah, which clarifies what needs to be clarified, and it does not go into it does not go into details which don't need to be mentioned at this stage for the student of knowledge. Every text which is studied in an Arabic curriculum is picked for a reason. It is picked to teach you certain skills. When we teach al-Ajurrumiyyah, there are particular skills that we want to pass on to you. When we teach Qatr al-Nada, there are particular skills that we want to pass on to you. When we teach Alfiyah or Kafiyah or Hidayatul Nahu, there are particular skills that we want to pass on to you. So every text is picked for a few reasons. There are objectives that need to be kept in mind when studying and teaching a text, so that you can pick the right text for the job, the right textbook, the right treatise for that purpose. Now, and with studying al-Ajurrumiyyah, there are 3 learning objectives that we have kept in mind, and it is based on these 3 learning objectives that we have picked this book, this text, and the Sharh, the explanation of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan. And inshallah ta'ala, if you consistently watch all the videos, all the lectures by attending live or by watching the recordings, and you do all the homework that is given to you, inshallah ta'ala, you will find that you will have, gained all of these skills, which we will mention. You will have gained these skills by the end of our study of al-Ajurrumiyyah. And then, inshallah ta'ala, you can move on smoothly to the next text, Qatr al-Nada, for example, or Hidayatul Nahu, where then you can build on that knowledge. So what are these learning objectives that we have in mind? Number 1, al-Ajurrumiyyah will teach you the essential nomenclature, terminology, istilahat, the essential terminology, jargon used in the books of Nahu, in the books of syntax. And this is important. To understand and study any discipline, you need to be aware of the technical jargon, the terminology, the nomenclature of that particular discipline, whether it's Nahu or Sarf or Balagha or Usul al-Fiqh, etc. So this is the first thing that which al-Ajurrumiyyah is going to help you understand. The essential nomenclature which is found across the board in all the books of Nahu. This is the standard terminology used by the grammarians. This is the language of the Nuhat, the language of the Arab grammarians. Number 2, we want you to understand the essential foundational concepts of Arabic syntax. And al-Ajurrumiyyah is going to give you a comprehensive overview of all the essential and foundational concepts of Arabic syntax or Nahu, and then you can use this knowledge to study more intermediate and advanced texts after that. Number 3, understand what is meant by i'rab and bina, which are 2 foundational phenomenon in Arabic syntax and Nahu. I'rab and bina are the 2 foundational, essential phenomenons is studied in Arabic syntax. Arabic syntax is framed around them in a way. So after you've studied al-Ajurrumiyyah, you will have gained, inshallah ta'ala, a good understanding of what is i'rab and what is bina, inshallah. And by extension, you will have learned how to grammatically parse, how to grammatically analyze, how to do i'rab of basic Arabic sentences. After studying al-Ajurrumiyyah, if we were to put in front of you a simple jumla ismiyah or a simple jumla fi'liyah, you will be, inshallah ta'ala, able to do i'rab of those sentences. You will be able to grammatically parse and analyze those simple sentences, inshallah ta'ala. And more complex sentences, of course, their i'rab requires a bit more practice, and that will be for texts which will be studied after al-Ajurrumiyyah, inshallah ta'ala. Now, so there is a particular methodology that we're going to follow, but before I get into the methodology, I want to talk briefly about Nahu, Sarf, and Balagha and the relationship between these three sciences and the differences between them. There are videos on our YouTube channel in which I've clarified this. There's a series called The Arabic Sciences in Context, where I've clarified some of these points, and inshallah ta'ala I will share a link to that series where you can watch those videos and gain more insight into the different sciences of the Arabic language that are there and how we approach the sciences of the Arabic language. But generally speaking, right, whenever a language is studied deeply, it is broken into parts. Whenever anything, to be honest, is studied deeply, it is broken into parts. And the smallest unit of any language is the sound, the individual sound. A, ba, ta, tha, etc. And every language has its own sounds. So this is the smallest unit. These sounds are represented as letters, right? In technical linguistics, these are called graphemes, right? Or letters, right? Let's not get into too much technical terminology here. Sounds are represented as letters in writing. We use these sounds to form words, right? And then we use these words to form sentences. All right. So we have the a sound, the p sound, the l sound, right? And we use these sounds, we put them together to form the word apple. And then like that, we take multiple words and we form sentences. So I ate an apple. We took multiple sounds, formed multiple words, and then we put those words together to form a sentence, right? Now, these individual sounds don't have any meanings. These individual letters don't have any meaning. But once you've put them together to form a word, now the word has a meaning. And once you've used these words to form sentences, the sentences have a meaning as well. So when you break down language like that, you study all the different components of language. So there are scholars that zoomed in and they studied the sounds of the Arabic language, right? So the phonetics and phonology of Arabic. And this is usually covered in the books of Tajweed. In the books of Tajweed, you will usually find these discussions. How do we pronounce Arabic letters? And how you read them is also covered in Ilm al-Tajweed, and is something that all of us have gone through, having studied the Qa'idah Nuraniyya or the Qa'idah Madaniyya, etc. Right? We learned how to read out those letters, how to produce those sounds, and so on and so forth. Then, after you've put those sounds or letters together to form words, now you have words. And so words can be studied from multiple perspectives. Words can be studied from the perspective of their meaning. Now, when we study the meanings of words, there's a particular subject in the Arabic studies curriculum which deals with the meanings of individual words, and that's referred to as ilmu mufradat al-lugha, or ilmu matn al-lugha, or as ilmu al-ma'ajim as well, the science of Arabic dictionaries, right? So it's in these books, the books of ilmu mufradat al-lugha or ilmu matn al-lugha or ilmu al-ma'ajim, where you will find the meanings of individual words. These are dictionaries compiled by scholars, and that's a separate discipline on its own. And words can also be studied based on how they're formed and their structure. So how they're formed, the formation of words, the anatomy of the individual word on its own. I have an individual Arabic word, zaydun, or daraba, or akala, right? How is daraba formed? How is akala formed, etc.? These structures the formation of words, this is studied in ilm al-sarf. Ilm al-sarf. So sarf is a discipline which studies the individual Arabic word, its formation, its structure, right? And how the structures can, how some structures can change to form new words, right? This is all studied in Sarf. Sarf does not study sentences. Sarf has nothing to do with sentences. Sarf studies the individual Arabic word, the formation of the word, and the structure of the word, and how that structure changes for different reasons. طيب. That's Sarf, or Arabic morphology, right? There are other subjects that deal with words as well, like ilm al-ishtiqaq, which is etymology. It studies the origins and relationships between words, and in essence, it's a part of ilm al-sarf, right? Now, when we've taken these words and we've put them together, we now have sentences. We now have sentences. So sentences can also be studied from the perspective of their meaning and from the perspective of their structure and formation. How are sentences formed? How do I put words together to form a sentence, right? So the science that studies structures, the structure of sentences is nahu, or Arabic syntax. Now, meaning and structure are not things which are completely exclusive or separate. No. Studying Nahu gives you a lot of insight into what the word means. It gives you a lot of insight, right? So there is definitely a very big portion of meaning which you do get to study through Nahu. But that's the basic, simple meaning of the sentence. The deeper meanings are studied in balagha. The deeper meanings of sentences are studied in balagha, or rhetoric, right? So the deeper semantics and pragmatics are studied in balagha. You do cover basic semantics. Semantics is just a fancy term for meaning, right? You do cover basic meanings in Nahu, because when you know that this word is the mubtada and this is the khabar, you understand the essential meaning and the relationship between the two. Or this word is the fi'il and this is the fa'il and this is the maf'ul bihi. This tells you a lot about the meaning of the word, right? So structure and meaning aren't exclusive in that way. They're not completely separate, right? But the deeper meanings, how we change sentence structures from standard structures to more unique structures to produce new meanings, and how we use figurative language, how we use rhyme, for example, those things are studied in balagha and rhetoric, right? And you also have the study of Arabic poetry, the structure. So there's the structure of Arabic poetry, which is called ilm al-arud wal-qawafi. Qawafi. This is also a separate discipline altogether. There are many separate disciplines, right? The foundational disciplines are these three: Sarf, Nahu, and Balagha. If you want to be able, of course, knowing the basics of the sound system and the letters and how to read, that's necessary for you to be able to study Sarf and Nahu and Balagha. So that's a prerequisite for everything. And then Sarf, Nahu, and Balagha are further prerequisites for the deeper sciences like Arabic literature, Ilm al-Adab, right, which studies different Arabic texts and how they convey meanings and so on and so forth. To study Adab properly, you need Sarf, you need Nahu, you need Balagha. To study the Quran properly, you need Sarf, Nahu, Balagha. And the same thing with Hadith and so on and so forth. Right? So that's the difference between Sarf, Nahu, and Balagha. Sarf studies the structures of individual words. And again, there is a level of meaning involved in studying Sarf as well, because there are structures that denote particular meanings. So you do, there is a level of meaning uncovered in Sarf as well. But then the individual meanings of all the different words in Arabic, that's covered in separate sciences like Ilm al-Ma'ajim or Ilm al-Mu'jam. And then the structure of Arabic science, of the Arabic sentences, that's studied in Nahu. And then the deeper meanings and the deeper semantics and pragmatics of a sentence, that's something you study in Balagha, how you use figurative language, how you use rhyme and prose, nathar, how you change the sentence structure from to add more emphasis, for example, etc. Those are specific points of meaning studied in Balagha, right? So this is something important to know before you start your journey in studying Nahu, so that you're able to differentiate between these essential sciences, and you know what you're doing exactly. You know exactly what you're doing. Right now, you're studying Nahu. You're studying the formation of Arabic sentences, and we have a course on basic Sharh as well. It's a recorded course for anyone who wants to join that. And inshallah ta'ala, in the future, we aim to teach courses on Balagha as well, inshallah ta'ala. Now, so once that is understood, we can now talk briefly about our methodology. This is the first session, so there are some introductory points which I'm going to mention. And then inshallah ta'ala, from our next session onwards, we will just be reading and explaining the text and the Sharh of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan. We're going to do that in a few minutes as well. We're going to start from today, alhamdulillah. But I'm just mentioning a few introductory points which are important for you to know so that you can benefit properly from the course, insha'Allah ta'ala. Now, our methodology in studying al-Ajurrumiyyah is going to be this. Number one, we're going to read the portion which we want to explain and understand from al-Ajurrumiyyah. That's number one, from the text of al-Ajurrumiyyah itself. And the matan has been shared with you on Telegram. The Sharh of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan has also been shared with you on Telegram now. So first of all, we will read the portion from the text of al-Ajurrumiyyah itself, and then we will understand all the concepts therein. First, we will understand all the concepts therein. I will explain the portion from al-Ajurrumiyyah itself. Once you've understood everything from the text of al-Ajurrumiyyah and the concepts are clear, then to add the next layer of necessary information, we're going to read the portion from the Sharh of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan, inshallah. And we're going to explain the portion from the Sharh of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan as well, to make sure you've understood everything that you need to understand therein. Inshallah ta'ala, there will be some practice activities that we'll do in class, and there's going to be homework which is going to be given to you as well, inshallah ta'ala. Now, so these are the texts which we are studying. There's the matan of al-Ajurrumiyyah, and this is the Sharh which we will be going through, inshallah, the Sharh of Sheikh Ahmed Zayni Dahlan, inshallah ta'ala. Now, so without further ado, let's begin with the reading of Al-Muqaddimatul Ajurrumiyyah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The author, rahimahullah, Al-Imam Ibn Ajurrum, he started with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim because this is the prophetic sunnah, and this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started his noble book, the noble Quran. And so it is the habit of ulama that they follow the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started his book with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Naam. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also, when he used to write letters to different kings and emperors and rulers, he would start those letters with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So the Islamic scholars, when they write books, they follow the sunnah of Allah and the sunnah of his messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this regard. Now, after that, the author rahimahullah says, الكلام هو اللفظ المركب المفيد بالوضع وأقسامه ثلاثة اسم وفعل وحرف جاء لمعنى. The author rahimahullah starts off by defining what a sentence is. By defining what a sentence is. Why? Because we just said that Nahu studies how sentences are formed. So you need to know what a sentence is in Arabic for you to be able to form one. For you to be able to form one. Now, so let's understand the ideas mentioned here. Number one, the first thing to understand is that language is a set of sounds which are used for communication. This is the definition of language, any language, right? As different authors mention, that a language, a lugha in Arabic, right? A lugha or language in English is, so language in essence is a set of sounds which are used for the purpose of communication, which are used for the purpose of communication. Now these set of sounds in Arabic are called lafz. Lafz. These set of sounds are called lafz. So we have individual sounds like the sound. Let's use a different color here. The sound, the b sound, etc. When we start producing these sounds from our mouth, that's called a lafz. That's called a lafz. When I say Zaydun, that's a lafz. When I say ba, even though it has no meaning, that's still a lafz. Any sound which I produce from my mouth, which is consistent of letters, which consists of letters, that is called a lafz in the Arabic language. When I say Zaydun dhahaba ila suqi, this is also a lafz. So any sound which I produce from my mouth, any sound which any of us produce from our mouths, this is called, these are called lafz. Lafz in Arabic, in the technical terminology of the grammarians, right? These are all called lafz, whether it's a word which has a meaning or not, whether it's one word or a complete sentence or two or three words put together, all of these are called lafz. All of these are called lafz. So a lafz is, we said, thus any sound which you utter from your mouth, which is consistent of letters, is called a lafz. Right? So when I take sounds and I produce them from my mouth, right? And these are consistent, these contain letters, these sounds which I'm producing from my mouth, they contain letters. These are all called lafz, right? So for example, I take the sound and the b sound and the u sound and I put them together and I say it out loud, abu. That's a lafz. Now, whether these sounds make sense, like the word Abdullah, or not, like abababa, like that, whether they make sense or not, whether they have an actual meaning or not, the grammarians call all of these lafz. Any sound which contains letters, which is produced from a human mouth, is called lafz in the terminology of the grammarians. Also, whether this sound is an individual word like Zayd, or a phrase like Kitabu Zayd, or a complete sentence like Daraba Zaydun Amran, all of these are called lafz in the technical jargon of the grammarians. Whether it's one word or two or a complete sentence, all of these are called lafz in the technical jargon of the grammarians. Now, so a language then is a set of sounds which are used for the purpose of communication. And when we break this down, we have the smallest unit, which is the individual sound produced from the mouth, which is represented in the form of letters in writing. We put these together to form words. and we put words together to form phrases and complete sentences, right? So any utterance, sound which comes out of your mouth is called a lafz, right? So I put these sounds together, I formed a word, and then after forming the word, I put words together to form this phrase, the apple, and I put these together to form, I put words to form a sentence, I ate an apple. And the same thing in Arabic. I took the za sound and the ya sound and the dal sound, and I got Zayd, right? The word. And then with Zayd, I can put another word to form a phrase, like Zaydun il-kabiru. This is a phrase. Or I can put other words to form a sentence. So I can put other words together to form a sentence. رأيت زيدا الكبيرة. This is a complete sentence. So Zaydun is a lafz. Zaydun al-kabir is a lafz. رأيت زيدا الكبير. This is a lafz as well in the technical terminology of the nuhat. And if I was to write days, which is not a real word, it doesn't have any meaning, this is still a lafz in the language of in the technical terminology of the grammarians. Any sound produced from your mouth which contains letters is lafz. Okay? Now, lafz is a set of sounds, right? It can be an actual utterance which was used by the Arabs to denote a meaning, so it's an actual word. Or the second possibility is that it is a made-up utterance which has no meaning. So for example, Zayd is an actual lafz, utterance, used by the Arabs for a particular meaning. Days, on the other hand, this is a lafz, but the Arabs never assigned a meaning to it. They did not use this word, right? So this is a lafz, but it has no meaning, right? So logically, there are two possibilities. Whenever a human being produces a set of sounds which contain letters, those sounds can actually be meaningful sounds, or they can be meaningless. If they're meaningless, we don't study them any further because there's no point. These are not studied in Nahu. We don't put them in sentences because they're not actual words. This is just a logical possibility that we talk about. The sounds that we do study, the alfaz that we do study, or the set of sounds of the alfaz, the lafz is the more appropriate word. The alfaz that we do study are those which have meaning, right? So we don't study made-up utterances, right? So actual utterances are of two types, right? These set of sounds or lafz which we produce can be individual words like Zayd, or it can be a phrase or a sentence, and these are all different possibilities. Okay, let's understand this through this diagram here. All right, we have lafz. Lafz is any set of sounds containing letters produced by humans, right? Or said by humans, right? Logically, just logically, when we divide lafz into two types, lafz can actually be musta'mal or muhmal. Musta'mal means it's a meaningful utterance. It actually has a meaning. When I say daraba or daraba zaydun amran, these are meaningful utterances. When I say rajulun, this is a meaningful utterance. The Arabs assigned meaning to these words, to these alfaz. They assigned meaning to them. So these are meaningful utterances. On the other hand, we have types like days. The Arabs never used this as a meaningful word. They never assigned a meaning to it. This is what we call muhmal. And muhmal words which have no meaning, words which are alfaz which are meaningless, utterances, which are meaningless, utterances which are meaningless, regardless of how long or lengthy they are, right? They are not studied because they have no meaning, and they are not covered under Nahu or Sarf or Balagha, any of the disciplines, because this is not an actual part of the Arabic language. What is an actual part of the Arabic language are alfaz, set of sounds, which contain letters produced by humans, and meanings were assigned to them, and the Arabs used them in their language. These are called musta'mal. We study these. This is just mentioned as a logical possibility in the books of Nahu, right? So that you understand the concept of musta'mal. What the concept of musta'mal is. The concept of musta'mal is that the Arabs uttered sounds containing letters. They assigned meanings to them. These are what we call lafz musta'mal. These are what we call lafz musta'mal. And if someone produces similar sounds, right, containing letters, but the Arabs never assigned any meaning to them, these are not studied in Arabic. These are called lafz muhmal, right? They are a lafz, but they are muhmal. Muhmal means they're unused, they're meaningless. That's the connotation that the word carries, right? So they're meaningless, and so they're not studied any further. Now, a sound or an utterance, more precisely, a lafz is translated as utterance. An utterance, which is musta'mal, which has a meaning, it's meaningful. Logically, it can be of two types, logically speaking. Either I can utter an individual word, like rajulun, like daraba on its own, rajulun on its own. These are individual words, right? And these have a meaning. Rajulun means man, daraba means hit. And the second possibility is I can utter multiple words put together. So I can utter multiple words put together, like daraba zaydun, like akala ar-rajulu, like kitabu zaydin. Kitabu zaydin, Zayd's book. Daraba zaydun, Zayd hit. Akala rajulun, the man ate, or a man ate. طيب. These are also lafz musta'mal. Now, the individual Arabic word, which is meaningful, which we produce, this is called kalima in the technical terminology of the grammarians. This is called kalima in the technical terminology of the grammarians. Now, kalima. Kalima means an individual word. And multiple words put together, this is called murakkab. Murakkab in the technical terminology of the grammarians. This is called murakkab in the technical terminology of the grammarians. Now, the kalima, the individual word, is of one of three types in the Arabic language. The individual word can either be an ism, or a fi'l, or a harf. An ism is a name of a person, place, thing, or concept. And we will study a more technical and detailed definition of this, inshallah ta'ala. But as just to give you an idea, an ism is a name of a person, thing, concept, etc. That's an ism. A fi'l is an action. It's an action word. A word which denotes an action happening. Daraba, akala, etc. And a harf is a particle. It's a word which is neither an ism nor a fi'l. So a word which is neither an ism nor a fi'l, that's a harf. It's a particle. And every single word in the Arabic language, you take all the words of the Quran, all the words of the Sunnah, all the words ever spoken by Arabs, you can categorize them as either ism or fi'l or harf. These are the three types. There's no fourth type. Every single word in the Arabic language can be every single word in the Arabic language is either an ism or a fi'l or a harf. There is no fourth type. طيب. Now, when we take ism, fi'l, harf and we start putting them together, we can either form phrases. Phrases are not complete, they are incomplete sentences. They are parts of sentences. They are two or more words put together, but they are not complete sentences. That's a phrase. And in the terminology of the grammarians, this is called a murakkab naqis. This is called a murakkab naqis, a deficient construction. Deficient in the sense that it's not a complete sentence. It's a phrase. Like when I say, Kitabu Zaydin. Kitabu Zaydin means Zayd's book. This is a phrase. This is a phrase. It's not a complete sentence. And we can also take ism fi'al harf and put them together in such a way that they form a complete sentence. This, in the technical terminology of grammarians, is called murakkab tam or kalam. This is called murakkab tam or kalam. A complete sentence. Like when I say ضرب زيد عمرا. Zayd hit Amr. This is a complete sentence. I took individual words, I put them together to form a complete sentence, right? So an individual word, the individual Arabic word is of three types, one of three types, ism or fi'l or harf. And then I can put these together to form either a phrase, murakkab naqis, or a complete sentence, murakkab tam, which is also called kalam, So this is how we logically understand the idea of kalima and kalam in Arabic, right? The logical way of understanding it is that humans produce sounds which contain letters. These are called lafz. These are called lafz. Now, when humans produce these sounds from their mouths, which contain letters, these sounds can either be these utterances. It's better to call them utterances. These utterances can either be musta'mal, meaningful, in the sense that the Arabs who used these words, they ascribed a meaning to these words, or these utterances which we produce are meaningless. In that case, they are muhmal. Now, those which are meaningless are not an actual part of the Arabic language, therefore they are not studied. Those which are meaningless. Those which are meaningful are a part of the Arabic language, and they are divided into two types. When I produce an utterance, it can be an individual word, just one word on its own, and the individual word in Arabic can be of one of three types. Either it's going to be an ism, or a fi'l, or a harf. Or the utterance which I produce, is a combination of ism, fi'l, harf put together. That is murakkab. Now, this combination of individual words, this utterance which I'm producing, it can either be a phrase, which is a murakkab naqis, or it can be a complete sentence, which is murakkab tam or kalam. طيب? So that's the complete idea there. Lafz is utterance, right? What is an utterance? An utterance is sounds which are produced by the human mouth, which contain letters, right? And you'll understand why we are defining it in this way, insha'Allah ta'ala. طيب. So now that we've understood this, now that we've understood that language is a set of sounds which are used for communication. Now, the set of sounds which we produce, utterances which we produce, these utterances can be meaningful or meaningless. Those which are meaningless are not studied. Those which are meaningful are further studied, and they're of two types, as I've just explained. Now we can further understand other concepts, right? So I've said here, logically, since the lafz is a set of sounds, it can be an actual utterance which was used by the Arabs and denotes a meaning, or it can be a made-up utterance which has no meaning. That's muhmal. We don't study made-up utterances. Actual utterances are of two types, logically, right? These set of sounds, or lafz, utterances, which we produce, can be an individual word like Zayd, or it can be a phrase or a sentence. These are all different logical possibilities. The individual word is called kalima, and words in the Arabic language are of three types, no more. Ism, fi'l, harf. That means you can collect all the words of the Quran, Sunnah, and general Arabic speech, and you will find that they are either an ism or fi'l or harf, right? Now, so when we take individual sounds, when we turn them into words, these words, these actual words, will either be an ism or fi'l or harf. Then we've understood the kalima. The second thing is to understand the murakkab. We can put these individual words together to form a longer utterance, which is murakkab, and that can be a sentence or a phrase. So we said that a lafz, an utterance, can be one word or more than one word. If it's more than one word, it is called a murakkab, and a murakkab will logically either be a phrase, meaning not a complete sentence, or it will be a complete sentence. The phrase is called murakkab naqis, whereas the complete sentence is called kalam or jumla mufida or murakkab tam. These are synonymous terms used in the books of Nahu interchangeably. Kalam, jumla mufida, murakkab tam. Now, so we took the actual words which we formed using individual sounds, and then we put those words together to form phrases and complete sentences. And that's where we get that diagram which we just went through. Alhamdulillah. So the summary of this is, words in Arabic are of three types, ism or fi'l or harf. When you put these words together, you can either get a phrase which is not a complete sentence, or you can get a complete sentence. Now, that's the first point which we've covered. The second point which we want to cover is, what really is a complete sentence? What really is a complete sentence? So when we take those individual words and we put them together, we can either put them together in a way that they form a phrase, or we can put them together in a way that they form a complete meaningful sentence, which is kalam or jumla mufida, right? Phrases themselves do not convey a complete meaning, right? And so they are only fully useful when we put them in a sentence. So what we really need to know is, what is a complete sentence and how do we form a complete sentence? So when you put words together to form a complete and meaningful sentence, it needs to be done in a way that the sentence conveys a complete meaning. So notice these. Are these complete sentences? If I come to you and I say, are you? Is that a complete sentence? No. How are? No. Where are? Are? No. The apple, running quickly, the delicious, just the word apple on its own? No. All of these are examples of either phrases or individual words. Car, home, job, these are individual words. The apple, that's just a phrase. These are not complete sentences. So how do we form complete sentences, right? Now, the examples you just saw aren't complete sentences. Rather, they are incomplete compounds or phrases. To be complete sentences, they need to convey a full meaning. This is the main thing, right? For a murakkab to be considered a sentence, a complete sentence, it needs to convey a full meaning. So we can define the sentence or kalam, sentence, jumla mufida, murakkab tam, all of these mean the same thing, right? So we can understand what a sentence is by knowing its complete definition. So what is kalam? What is a sentence? Kalam or a sentence in Arabic is an utterance, a lafz, an utterance, which is made up of two words or more. So there needs to be two words or more. Just an individual word on its own is not a sentence, right? That's one thing. Another thing, it should convey a complete meaning, right? So if you put two or more words together, but they don't convey a complete meaning, it's not a sentence. When I say Kitabu Zaydin, Zayd's book, that doesn't convey a complete meaning. If I approached you and I said Zayd's book, you'll ask me, what about Zayd's book? Give me some information about it. Did you find Zayd's book? Did you find it lying somewhere? Is Zayd looking for his book? Did he buy a new book? This is not complete information. It's partial information. So it doesn't convey a complete meaning. So this is murakkab naqis. It's not kalam. And the final condition is it should be made up of Arabic words. It should be made up of Arabic words, not foreign words. The cat in the hat is an English sentence, but not a sentence in Arabic. So Arabic syntax will not study that. It will study the Arabic sentence. So in essence, there are four conditions for something to be considered an Arabic sentence. Number one, it needs to be an utterance. So it needs to be a sound produced by the human mouth, right? So if, for example, we use a musical instrument to produce sounds, right? We use a drum to produce multiple sounds. That's not an utterance. So it's not going to be a sentence. A sentence is an utterance which needs to be produced by a human mouth. It needs to be made up of two words or more. And it needs to convey a complete meaning, and it needs to use Arabic words. That is kalam or jumla mufida or sentence. That is the definition of kalam or jumla mufida or murakkab tam or a sentence. Na'am. So in short, there are four conditions, and Ibn al-Ajurrumiyyah, rahimahullah, he listed these exact conditions which we just spoke about. Kalam has to be a lafz. Lafz means utterance. That's the first condition. It needs to be murakkab, meaning made up of two words or more. Mufid. Mufid means it needs to give a complete meaning. It needs to convey a complete meaning. And number four, bil-wad', meaning bil-wad' al-arabi. It needs to use Arabic words. When all of these four conditions are found, then you get kalam. If any one of them is missing, you don't get kalam. So for example, aba. Is this kalam? No. It is a lafz, yes. But this is muhmal to begin with. It's muhmal to begin with. It's not anything, right? Okay, what about Zaydun? Is this kalam? No. It is a lafz, yes. The condition of lafz is met, but the condition of wada' is also met. It's an Arabic word, but the other two conditions are missing. It's not murakkab, it's not mufid. So it's not kalam. It's a kalima. It's an individual word. Okay, what about Kitabu Zaydin? Kitabu Zaydin is lafz. It's an utterance. It's murakkab, two words. It's bil wada', right? Arabic words are used, but it's not mufid. It doesn't convey a complete meaning. So it's murakkab naqis. It's a phrase, but it's not kalam. What about ضرب زيد عمران? Is this kalam? Well, it's a lafz, yes. It's بالوضع, yes. It's murakkab, yes. And yes, it is mufid. It conveys a complete meaning. Zayd hit Amr. A complete meaning is conveyed. So when all of these four conditions are found, that's what we call kalam, or a sentence in the Arabic language. Na'am. Alhamdulillah. That's what we call kalam in the Arabic language, when all of these four conditions are found therein. Now, so a summary of that is, a sentence is an utterance, has to be an utterance, which is made up of two words or more and conveys a complete meaning and uses Arabic words. Now, alhamdulillah. Now, when we go back and when we read the statement of Ibn Ajurrum rahimahullah, it's all going to make sense. He says, Al-kalamu huwa al-lafzu al-murakkabu al-mufidu bil-wada'. He's defining the Arabic sentence. Why? Because Nahu studies the formation of Arabic sentences. طيب. So, kalam is, the Arabic sentence is a lafz, it's an utterance. So it's a set of sounds produced by the human mouth which can consist, or which contain letters, right? It's a lafz. It has to be a lafz. So, for example, if I gesture to someone, if I point my finger to tell someone to go, if I just point my finger, I don't say anything. If I just point my finger, is me pointing a finger a sentence? Is it kalam? No. Why? Because it's not a lafz. It's not a lafz. So it has to be an utterance. Kalam has to be an utterance. A red sign, the red light, the traffic lights, right? The traffic lights. So you have the red, you have the green, you have the yellow. Is this kalam? I mean, it does convey a meaning, but is this kalam? No, because it's not an utterance. So a kalam has to be, a sentence has to be a lafz. All right, very good. And it has to be murakkab. It has to be murakkab. That's the second condition. It has to be made up of two words or more. Now, when we say two words or more, you have some words in the Arabic language like idhab, go, right? It is one word in actuality, but what is meant is two words. Anta idhab. So words like these are in actuality two words. Two words, right? This is called a lafz taqdiran. Sorry, it's called the murakkab taqdiran or hukman. Hukman. It's not two words in reality, but it's two words in meaning. So when he says murakkab, this is also fine. This is included in that. Any utterance which is in actuality two words or more, or it has the meaning of two words or more, even if it's one word, that comes under murakkab. That comes under murakkab. So if I say to someone, qum, stand up, this is a murakkab because it means anta qum, you stand up. That's what it means. I didn't say you, but it's intended. It's intended, right? So whether it's two words in actuality or two words are meant, but one word is said, that all comes under murakkab, right? This is the second condition. The third condition is it has to be mufid. It has to be mufid. It has to convey a complete meaning. And number four, it has to be with Arabic use. It has to be using, it has to be made using, or it has to be uttered using Arabic words. These four conditions need to be found together for an utterance to be considered kalam. Like for an utterance to be considered kalam. Now, once we've understood this, the next part is easy to understand as well. He says, وَأَقْسَامُهُ ثَلَاثَةٌ اسْمٌ وَفِعْلٌ وَحَرْفٌ جَاءَ لِمَعْنًى. وَأَقْسَامُهُ ثَلَاثَةٌ, and its types are three. Now, what's meant by its types are the type of words by which kalam is formed are three. That's what he means here. وأقسامه ثلاث. So the types of individual words, the types of kalima which we use to form kalam are three. Ism, fi'l, and harf جاء لمعنى. اسم وفعل وحرف جاء لمعنى. These are the types of kalima, right? As we just took. These are not types of kalam, because kalam is a complete sentence, and one ism on its own is not a complete sentence. One fi'l on its own is not a complete sentence. A literal translation of this is وَأَقْسَامُهُ ثَلَاثَةً, and its types, meaning kalam's types, are three. That's the literal translation. But what is meant here is the types of words which are used to form kalam are three. Because ism, fi'l, harf, these are types of kalima. These are not types of kalam. Kalam is a complete sentence, whereas these are individual words. So ism, fi'l, and harf ja'a li ma'na. What does he mean by harf ja'a li ma'na? I've explained what ism means briefly, and what fi'l means, and what harf means. In our next session, I'll go into the technical definitions of each, inshallah. What does he mean by harf ja'a li ma'na? The word harf is used for two things. Number one, for the letters of the alphabet. These are called harfu mabna. The letters which are the building blocks of words. The letters on their own have no meaning. Alif, ba, ta. Does alif have a meaning? No. Does ba have a meaning? No. The word harf is also used for words like fi, in, ala, on, min. These are complete words. They do have a meaning. So these are called harfu ma'na. So here when he's saying harfun ja'a li ma'na, he's clarifying, I don't mean this type of word. I don't mean letters. I mean these types. I mean particles, which are words which have a meaning, right? So harfun ja'a li ma'na. With that, we've understood the lines from al-Ajurrumiyyah. In our next class, we will go through the definitions of ism, fi'l, and harf, inshallah, and then we'll read through the Sharh of Sheikh Zayni Dahlan as well, inshallah ta'ala. Barakallahu feekum for attending and listening. If you have any questions now, you're free to ask, inshallah. Bismillah.
Alright, thank you so much for that. Could you just recap the difference between a kalima and a lafz?
Sure. A lafz is a broader category. It includes an individual word, and it includes a phrase, and it includes a sentence as well. Basically, any set of sounds which I'm uttering through my mouth, all of these are called lafz. Whether it's one word, like Zaydun, or it's two words, like Kitabu Zaydin, or three or more, like Daraba Zaydun Amran wa Khalidan, all of these are called lafz. But kalima refers to an individual word, one word on its own. Yeah, that's the difference. So lafz is a broader category. It includes individual words like kalima, and it includes two or more words put together like kalam and murakkab naqis.
Sounds good. Sounds good. If we have any questions throughout the week, can we leave it in the chat?
Absolutely, you can. There's a discussion group. I'll share the link. I'll share the link to. I think you've just joined. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So inshallah ta'ala, the admin will share with you the main course channel and the discussion group, and you're free to ask any questions in the discussion group, inshallah ta'ala.
Sounds good. And so we'll be going through the book. Obviously, everything is going to be in Arabic. And so I guess obviously you'll explain it in English, and the notes will be shared as well.
Yes, they will be shared, inshallah ta'ala. And the translation of Ajurrumiyyah will also be shared, inshallah.
Got it. All right. Thank you so much.
No problem at all. Barakallahu feek. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.